The member for Wendouree.
Thank you very much, Acting Speaker. I am all organised. Thank you very much, Acting Speaker, and I stand to speak in support of the legislation that is before the House, the Energy Legislation Amendment Bill 2021. And I'm very pleased to see that it's receiving bipartisan support. I always like to follow in the footsteps of my dear friend, the member for Bass, who is such a passionate advocate for her community, as well as the member for Tarneet, who is such a great contributor when it comes to energy legislation. She's a great contributor on all legislation, but her experience in the sector, her years and years of working in energy, gives a really, really good insight and demystifies an industry that I don't have a strong understanding of. So well done to the member for Tarneet. The member for Mordialloc also headed off our contributions today, and he had looked through the Hansard to have a look at the contribution of the member for Sandringham and talked about really the difference between the two parties in the two key parties in this parliament, that we have a real commitment to renewable energy and climate change, and we just don't see it on the other side. The Minister for Energy, Environment and Climate Change is one of the hardest working people in Victoria. And she does such a magnificent job under very challenging circumstances with such a broad portfolio, but she does such an excellent job. So I thank her for introducing this bill that seeks to update and modernise Victoria's energy legislative and regulatory framework. And I'd really like to take an opportunity to thank her very hard-working office, who are always so helpful with any inquiries or with any requests for support. So thank you very much to the Ministerial Office, and also I'd like to pay tribute to the hardworking members of the department who have been very, very busy in terms of pushing forward the Andrews Labor government commitment to addressing issues of climate change and renewals. And when we talk about renewals, we've got some great projects that have been funded by the Andrews Labor government in my electorate of Wendouree. A number of Ballarat community organisations are reaping the benefits of installing solar systems on their buildings as a part of the Victorian Government $2.7 billion building works package. This includes the Ballarat Table Tennis Centre, McCallum Disability Services, and I would like to say a big hello to all my dear friends who are participants at McCallum. I hope you're having a great day, working hard as you always do, and always having a few laughs. Also to the Ballarat Regional Industries, they received funding to put solar systems on their buildings. Ballarat Squash and Racquetball, the very good people at CAFS, Children and Family Services in Ballarat, also received a grant, as did Ballarat Cemeteries, to put some solar panels on the crematorium in Ballarat, which is very good to know. The Old Colonist Association is putting solar panels on social housing in Lake Gardens. And what is really great about this is not only are we tackling climate change through the introduction of solar systems, what we're doing is allowing these organisations that often operate on a shoestring to take charge of their energy consumption and use that savings to then invest back in the community. So that $1.1 million in the Grampians region has been most well received, and I look forward to working with more community groups to try and support them to receive solar systems for their buildings as well. Another important issue for my community, and I'd really like to thank the Minister, is for the thousands of Wendouree residents who have benefited from the $250 power saving bonus. This one-off payment provides important financial support for eligible concession holders, and this year's state budget has provided eligible concession card holders facing immediate hardship with the one-off $250 power saving bonus payment to help offset these costs. And the direct bill relief is available to help an estimated 950,000 Victorian households who otherwise would struggle to pay bills and put food on the table. All pension types are eligible: aged pensioners, people receiving a disability support pension, carer payments and single parenting payment. And there's no cap on this program, and all eligible households can apply, and the program is open until the 31st of January 2022. And I am so pleased that we're doing this. My office is always here to help. So far we've helped over 200 constituents directly to get their $250 power bonus. And I'm really pleased that more than 3,000 people, 3,000 households in the electorate of Wendouree have already benefited. That is $750,000 in bonus payment that have been made to my community. So we know how Ballarat can be incredibly cold during our chilly winters, so this is very important. Getting to the bill, this bill gives effect to a suite of proposed reforms to improve the regulatory framework for energy in Victoria. The proposed amendments update the framework and implement reforms that have been made to the national energy laws. So it's an omnibus bill which will result in changes being made to 5 different pieces of legislation. And the legislation include the Electricity Industry Act 2000, the Gas Industry Act 2001, the National Electricity Victoria Act 2005, the National Gas Victoria Act 2008, and the Victorian Energy Efficient Target Act 2007. And like all the legislation that we bring to this House, we engage with stakeholders. And I'm very pleased that the department has undertaken stakeholder engagement and consultation about the proposed amendments, including with the Australian Energy Regulator, the Essential Services Commissioner, the Australian Energy Market Operator, the Australian Energy Market Commission, and Energy Safe Victoria. So what is changing with this omnibus legislation? We are making 6 changes to the 5 pieces of legislation that have already been listed. And the first change is about regulatory sandboxing. So the bill is mirroring reforms to national energy laws to enable innovative business models and technology to be trialled in Victoria by implementing a regulatory sandboxing. So I didn't know what a regulatory sandbox was, but I'm very pleased now that I do, because it's really interesting. It's a framework within which participants can test innovation concepts in the market under relaxed regulatory requirements, but only at a small scale and on a time-limited basis with appropriate safeguards in place. So that sounds like a really, really good way forward to me in terms of to trial something or to pilot a program. We also are looking at the standalone power systems, also known as SAPs, enabling, and this bill will enable Victoria to opt in by regulation to the new regulatory national energy laws for standalone power systems. It also allows, I'll have to be brief because I'm running out of time, setting energy efficient targets, providing power to the Minister to make regulation settings, setting the 2022 to 2025 energy efficiency targets. It's also going to strengthen the National Electricity Victoria Act to enable the Minister to seek orders from the Supreme Court in relation to contraventions or even proposed contraventions of an order. The 5th thing that this omnibus bill is really clarifies the civil penalty framework. So we're making amendments to clarify the application in Victoria of previous amendments based on the new 3-tiered civil penalty structure. So up to $10 million, 3 times the benefit gained from breaching the rules, or 10% of the annual turnover for breaches in the higher tier. 2, up to $1 0.435 million for the middle tier, and 170,000 for the lowest tier. The final thing that this bill is doing will enable hydrogen blending. So renewable gases such as hydrogen can be blended at low concentrations with natural gas to lower emissions with gas contribution. This bill will enable hydrogen blending because it will give powers to the minister to make orders to include hydrogen or other gas in the definition of natural gas. Important reforms in this omnibus bill, and I commend it to the House.